Hello everyone, my name's Gareth and I'm going to be spending a bit of time going through this application that I've created called Digital Grimoire. I'm going to show you, try and cover all the features, there's quite a lot, but I'm going to try and show you all of them and how they work, and hopefully that'll give you an insight into how my brain was working when I came up with this and decided to do things in a particular way that might on the surface seem different to how you might have chosen to do them. I hope what I have done makes sense. But I thought I'd just create this video anyway to go through it, just in case there was anything that was a bit less obvious. So first of all, I'm going to start with how to customize the game. When you initially come to botc.games, you'll be taken to this view. If you don't like dark mode, you can go into the settings menu up here and choose light mode. I am not going to do that because I much prefer the dark mode. As well as changing the color, you can also change the size of the tokens. This is particularly useful when you're on a mobile device. The application, even though I'm showing you on a web browser, has actually been designed with a tablet in mind, so that's the intended interface. But it should look okay for the purposes of this video on a browser. You've also got the toggle down here to show abilities. So when you're picking the tokens, either on this view or later on when you come to add new roles, if you want to see the abilities of those roles, you can click Show Abilities and they will be displayed underneath. I'm just going to toggle those off for now. If you want to find out when there's been new updates to Digital Grimoire, you can go to this About view here and you'll see what I've been up to basically. And down the bottom here, you'll see this project is not affiliated with the Pandemonium Institute. All roles and abilities, etc., are the property of Stephen Medway and the Pandemonium Institute. If you use this app and you enjoy it, I highly recommend you go and purchase a physical copy of the game. I've tried to make this as good to use as I can, but in my own opinion, nothing beats having that real physical grimoire in your hand. There's also a privacy policy here that you can read, and if you are really enjoying the tool, you can make a donation on Ko-fi if you want. Or if you have any feedback for me about suggestions for new features or any changes or bugs that you've noticed, feel free to join my Discord and reach out on the Digital Grimoire channel. Right, with that said, let's start talking actually about the game. So the first screen that you see is asking you to choose a script. To get started, please choose a script. So by default, we have Trouble Brewing, which obviously is the script that we recommend for new players. You've also got the other two base 3 available here, Bad Moon Rising and Sex and Violets. If you'd like to load a custom script, however, you can choose Custom Script here, and you can do a search. All the custom scripts that are on botcscripts.com get synced over to this tool every 10 minutes. So if you've just uploaded a script there, you can expect to see it at most 10 minutes later available on botc.games. So there's a script that I played recently in person with real tokens now, thanks to the carousel. That was really good fun. It's called Contempt. So I'm going to load that, and you'll see that the custom script has loaded. You also have the ability to load a script directly from a URL or even from a file. So if I load a script from a URL, then we can see how that works. So I'll click on From URL, paste in the URL here. This is a flesh and bone living script or a campaign script URL that I'm putting in here. So I'll click Download. And that's going to download a totally very normal game of Trouble Brewing. You'll see down the bottom here we have the homebrew Fabled included as well. To keep things simple for now, I'm going to load a custom script. But let's say that there's a custom script that I played that had a few roles that I like to play, but I can't quite remember what it was called. I can click here on this little filter button and bring up the advanced search. So let's say I'm excited about playing a script with the Wraith. I can click on that and search. And I can see there's 120 scripts that include the Wraith as a character. Hear me roar, that sounds fun. Yeah, there we go. There's the Wraith and the Boffin, cool. Yep, that is how you find scripts based on their roles. If you know the name of a script, maybe you want to play hookah sampling, you can start typing and it'll bring up the results in drop down. You can also load scripts from a file. So let's say I want to load a homebrew that I have. Let's see, I've got Fall of Rome here. I can try and load that. There we go. And now we've got Fall of Rome. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to stick to S&V because that should contain all the interactions that I want to demo today. So I've chosen S&V, I've got my script chosen. Next thing I want to do is maybe I want to make sure that all my players have access to the script. Maybe we don't have the physical Grim with us, we don't have the physical sheets with us. In that case, we can go to the Sheets page, Sheet menu, and choose Character. That's going to open up this QR code that your players can scan with their mobiles. And what that'll do is it'll open a tab on their phone, going to this page where you can see the characters. You can also choose different languages. So if you want to play in a different language, we have a selection to choose from. I live in Norway, so maybe I would choose Norsk Bokmål. And now I can see I have the characters in Norwegian. If I'm wanting to prepare beforehand and I want to print out this as a PDF, I can click on Export PDF. And that will generate a document that I can print out and give to my players. This feature is a little bit temperamental. It just got released yesterday, it's still in beta, but it should be a good option for people who want to have printable scripts in languages other than English. So that's the character sheet. Close that. We also have the night order sheet in case your players are interested in the night order. Again, they have a QR code they can scan, and we can open that in a new tab. By default, the first night order is selected, and you can choose other nights to see what it would be like every night apart from the first one. Okay, so we have chosen a script. Our players have either the script on their mobile or they have a physical version in their hand. The next thing we want to do as storytellers is to choose how many players we're actually going to be playing with. So let's say we've been lucky enough to organise a 12-player game today. What we can do if we want to make things take a bit less time later on, maybe when your players are gathering, and you have their names already in your meetup or whatever you're using to organise, you can come in here and you can type in some names for your players. I'm just going to do that off the top of my head quickly with some people that I played with recently. It's always difficult to think off the top of your head. There we go, that's some names. So I can save those if I want to save time a bit later. Now, because I've said that I'm going to be playing with 12 players, it's automatically giving me the default composition of the town, 7221. And I can go ahead and click those myself if I like, or I can click random, and that'll make a random selection for me. I'm just going to pick these without giving it any thought at all. Let's go here. So you'll notice now that I've chosen the Fangu at the end, and you'll see that it's got this little red triangle. If I tap on that or click on that, it says +1 outsider, so that's reminding me that there's a setup change for this character. If I want to quickly see what the ability of that character says, I can just long press on it, and it'll come up. Each night choose a player, they die. The first outsider this kills, blah 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 blah, +1 outsider. So with that in mind, I also get a little warning down here saying, you know, before you continue, please be aware that you might have to alter the composition of the town. So with that in mind, I'll get rid of Oracle and add a mutant. Now the app is happy. If we also have a traveler, or there's someone that knows they're going to be leaving early and they want to travel, then we can add them as well. We can add multiple of the same traveler, but for the purposes of this, I'll just add one. This is also similar to if you're running a Legion game or a Village Idiot and you need multiple versions of or multiple instances of the character in the bag. You can just go up and choose how many you'd like to put in there. Right, I think we're done with configuring the game. So let's continue. One thing to mention actually, if you have a drunk or a marionette on your script, they will also have a red triangle and you will not be able to select them to digitally put them in the bag because they don't go in the bag, despite what I tried to do last time we were playing in person by mistake. Yes, so let's go on to drawing the tokens. Let's remember to select the harlot because we're going to need that later. Okay, so here we are. If I didn't have any travelers in the bag, I could just invite people up one by one to select a token. I could still do that actually, but what I want to show you first is if you want to assign roles to players manually, you can do so here. So let's say, for example, Ankit wanted to travel because they weren't sure how long they could stay. We would assign that to them. And then we'd get everyone else to come up one by one and choose their tokens from the bag. Okay, I'll just do this randomly. So then I would call the next person to come up. It's important that you call the people to come up in order. We are able to change this later on, but just to make your life easier, if you call them in the order in which they're sitting, it'll be more straightforward. So I'll just go through these. You'll see here I can choose the names from the drop down because I pre-entered them earlier. I can also add a name down here as well if I like. Yeah, and then we'll just go through the rest of these. Sorry if it's a bit boring. Try and click as quickly as I can. If you haven't entered the names in the beginning and you don't really care about having accurate names for the roles, you can click auto assign and that will just automatically give them player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4 in order. But because I have the names already, I'll just assign those. Now, because we've selected all the roles from the bag is empty, and it's now time to get the game set up. By default, when the tokens get placed on the Grim in this app, they will be placed in a circle. So to help you with the orientation of what the tokens look like on the Grim, you can choose the player that's sitting at the top of your circle. Most of the games that I've run in person, we're not really in a perfect circle, we're more in kind of a horseshoe. So I tend to pick the person that's at the topmost point from my perspective of that horseshoe and make them in the 12 o'clock position so that the circle that's generated more closely represents what it looks like to me in real life. Let's just say it was Toby, for example. And then we can say start game. Okay, so here we have all the tokens laid out with Toby at the top and going round in the order in which they were called up to get their role. So now at this stage, yeah, I think have I managed to pick all roles that don't have any starting reminders? Yeah, I think I have. Okay, let's say, for example, that we had a token that you needed to set up the Grim before the game starts and you wanted to put some reminders out. You can do that from the reminders button, or you can click on the individual token. So let's say, for example, that we want to add minion not nominated, minion nominated for the town crier. I can open this modal and click to add those to the Grim, and I can place them wherever I like. And if I want to delete them, I can just long press on them. Next thing we're going to look at is bluffs. So we have our evil team, but the demon is going to need some bluffs if they want to have a chance to win. So we'll open the bluffs tab. We can add a new bluff set. This is for if you want to have multiple sets of bluffs. Maybe you have a lunatic in the game and you want to show them 3 different tokens. But by default, you have a bluff set already added called Demon Bluffs. So from there, I can click on Add Bluffs, and I can add a role. The roles that are highlighted here are the ones that are safe to pick as bluffs. They are not in the game. The ones that are darker here are already in the game. So let's say I want to make the bluffs Clockmaker, Oracle, and just for fun, Klutz. So that's now done. After you've picked 3 bluffs in any bluff set, you'll be presented with this Show All Bluffs button. That will come in handy later on when it comes to the night stage, because that's where you're going to show all the bluffs to the demon. So we'll leave that there for just now. And let's go to the roles view. So if you want to add some roles, maybe we have a fabled that we want to put in. I'm quite a fan of Hell's Librarian because sometimes people can be a bit noisy, so we can leave that up there if you like. And you've even got the something bad token if you want to use that. Again, I just click on it to bring it onto the board. And long press to remove it. Okay, so we're ready to start night 1. So we click on this night order sheet button here, to bring up the night order sheet. By default, we're on first night, which is correct, and we just go through this list doing what it says and doing what we would normally do. So we wake the minions, show them each other. I find this really useful in person, having the name above the token, because rather than me having to count the positions of where they are in the grimoire related to where they're seated, I can just say, oh yeah, okay, I need to wake up Sumesh and Aruna and show them Soli Marie. So that's fairly straightforward. So I've done that, and then I'm going to put them back to sleep, and then I'm going to wake up Soli Marie, show her Sumesh and Aruna, and then I'm going to show her the bluffs. So I click on bluffs and click on show all bluffs, and that makes this full screen, so you would show that to the demon. These characters are not in play. If you want to change your mind at the last minute, you can also remove and add from that view as well. And we'll close that when we're done. If instead of using this night order sheet on the right hand side, you want to just go through looking at the Grim, you can do that because the night order is present on the left hand side. So we'd wake the Snake Charmer first, see who they pick, then we'd wake the Witch to find out who to curse, and then we'd wake the Cerenovus to pick someone to be mad. Once they've done that, we can add the mad token to the Grim and move it over to Toby, let's say. Okay. Yeah, and as you can see now, because I've moved the token over to Toby, it's now showing in the night view as well. So that's just to remind you that Toby, the town crier, is mad. And then I would wake the seamstress and ask them if they want to use their ability, yes or no. If there's ever a situation in the night that calls for showing a token, let's say you have a washerwoman and you want to point to 2 people and show a role, you can do that from here by clicking on the reminder token or by clicking on the show button, and that'll show the role that's beside it. Okay, so the first night's over, so I'm going to remember to turn the sheet round and go to the other nights, and we'll notice that also changes the night order on the tokens here. We run the day, we go through the game, and let's say that Tilda was unfortunate enough to be executed. So this is all well and good. Maybe you have the alive and dead tokens physically in person. If you don't, there is what's called the town view. So if you click on this town button up here, we can create a town. I'll just call this Oslo. And we need to add a password as well to stop players just loading up your town and seeing what's going on. And we'll click create. Yep, Oslo is not a good password. And then we can open this window in another tab. And we'll see here, if I can type in the password again and click join. Now we can see the town view of the Grim. We can click and drag this along as well if we want. We can toggle them on and off. We can hide it if we don't want to see it, show it if we do. This screen is not intended to be loaded by all your players on their devices. This is something that you might have on a projector in the room that you're playing in, or on a screen somewhere that's visible to everyone in the group. This updates automatically. You'll see when I marked Tilda as dead on the Grim, that's being reflected here. And we can also see that Ankit is the Traveller. This bar in the middle is very useful when you're running nominations. It tells you how many players are alive, how many are dead, how many votes are remaining. That's going to decrease if someone spends their dead vote, for example, and what the majority is. So in this case, because we have 14 players, 1 dead, we have 13 alive players, we need 7 votes to put someone on the block. As well as those widgets, there's also the possibility to bring up some QR codes for the character sheets and the night order sheet in case you want to have those there to remind your players. There's also the possibility to add a timer. So let's say we want everyone to come back to town in 6 minutes. We can start that timer here. I don't have any siren or klaxon or anything going off when this timer expires yet, but that might be something fun to add at a later stage. So that's the town view. Like I say, this is intended to be displayed and sort of presented by the storyteller to the players rather than something they load themselves. Okay, let's just show this in action. So if I continue to go around, let's say Omer was unfortunate enough to die in the night. That is then reflected on the screen here as well. And we go, continue in that fashion. Let's say we want to show a card at night. We can click on cards here. You have the standard, this is the demon, these are your minions, this is the demon. This character selected you, and you can choose something. Maybe it would make more sense in this instance to say something like, this character selected you, Serenovus. And then it might also be useful, you can essentially add another character here, so maybe if I show this to someone, they might infer, oh, the Serenovus has chosen me, I am now mad as the Oracle. That's one way to do it. Alternatively, you can create your own custom card. So you can say, you are mad as, and then because this is coming from an evil character, let's make this a bit more red. A bit lighter, maybe. There we go. You can change the text color if you so desire, but I quite like to have high contrast. And then we can say select character enabled. So I save this. I can now see you are mad as. Oh. And you can choose what they're mad as. This choice actually, as you saw there, is maintained between the cards, so you will have to do a bit of fiddling to get that to being ready before you show it to the players. But that's one way of doing it. So that's custom cards. If I make a mistake or I don't want to use it anymore, I can just click to remove it. Let's say that later on in the game, the snake charmer manages to find the demon. Maybe they picked their neighbor quite early on. So now we're in a situation where we want to swap the role and alignment between Io and Silly Marie. We could do this manually with adding roles and putting names in and adding another role and putting a name and deleting this one and deleting that one and trying to position them perfectly, but that's too much effort. So instead what we can do is we can open one of the menu items by clicking on the token. In this case I've selected Io, the snake charmer, so let's say that the snake charmer is going to swap roles and alignments with Silly Marie because they've managed to snake charm the Fangu. I can click on swap with Silly Marie, role and alignment. And now we can see that Silly Marie is the poisoned snake charmer and Io is the new Fangu. So at that point I might bring up a card and say you are Fangu. Show them that. I can also say you are evil. Let's say we have a barber and later on in the game they die and we wake up Io and he decides that he wants to swap the roles of Creedon and Sinna. So again, click on either one of those and we can say swap role, and the roles are swapped. If they were a different alignment, the alignment would not have changed. We can see here who still has a ghost vote available. If I want to spend someone's ghost vote, I can come in here and click on spend vote, and that'll spend their vote, and this again will be reflected in the town view over here. You'll notice this red ring around Silly Marie. That's because she has a poisoned token beside her. So if I go into the night order now, we'll see this red border, and it says Silly Marie poisoned. It says snake charmer, so you know that they're, in this case, they're being poisoned by themselves or to their own ability. So that is the general workings of the game. Let's see if there's anything I've missed. Yeah, if you want to change the order of the seating, let's say we, rather than adding a harlot, let's say we added a matron or whatever, and we want to swap two people's physical location, but not either roles or alignments or anything, we can go into rearrange. I can see here that we have the lists in order that they were chosen, starting at Ankit and going around this way. Let's say that we want to swap Aruna and Sinna's positions. We can do that. And say rearrange. And then we'll see that Sinna has moved and Aruna has moved. Yep. Let's see, is there anything else I need to show you, or is that it? Yeah, one important thing to note is that while you're playing this game on a tablet, it can sometimes be simple to accidentally refresh the page by mistake. If you do that here now, nothing is lost. So that's good to know. If you've had such a good game and it's something that you want to remember and perhaps load later on to look at, you can go into game and you can hit save, and you can save this to a file. I'll just call it demo. Download file, and that will give me demo.dgrim, which I can load later on. Once I'm finished, I'll be a good citizen and delete my town. And then I can come up here and say I'd like to start a new game. Confirm. And that brings me back to the home page. There's a few extra things that you can benefit from if you choose to log in with your Discord account. Just click on log in with Discord. Okay, that takes me back to the home page, and you'll see now that I'm logged in. Because I'm logged in, I can now load my favorited scripts. I can also see games that I've played previously that I've saved, because you can also save games to your profile rather than just to a .dgrim file. There's that script that I loaded earlier, Contempt, so I can just click on that to bring it up here. You'll notice this star icon appears. That's how you choose to add something to your favorites. Yes, I think that was everything I wanted to show you today. I hope that's been useful, and I hope I haven't forgotten or missed anything. Please let me know in the comments if there's something that's not clear, or if there's something missing that you would really like to see. I am active on our Discord, and yeah, you'll find me there if you have any feedback or suggestions. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy using this tool. Goodbye.